when it comes to Manitobans that will be competing in the Olympics, it is so good to welcome in Canada's number one triathlete, number 12 in the world, and a good friend of the program, Winnipeg's Tyler Mislawchuk, who joins us from the altitude and heat of Flagstaff, Arizona. Tyler, welcome back to Winnipeg Sports Talk. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for having me on and the warm welcome.
Hey, dude.
Big fan of the show, you know that. So yeah, pretty happy to be on.
Well, it is great to have you back on, and of course we see your dad Fred around the rink all the time doing his work from the broadcast side, and we're always keeping tabs on, hey, how's Tyler doing? Where's he at right now? Is it for people? I mean, international triathlon at your level is very different than probably almost any other sport, between where you have to train and where you have to compete. Give us an idea of where you have been over the course of the last year getting ready for the biggest event every 4 years, the Olympic Games.
Yeah, I mean, it's hilarious you say that because long story short, I damaged my passport, water damage while traveling. So I had to apply for a new passport. And they were trying to get me to list all the places I've been in the last year. And I was like, okay, well, it might take a minute. I can't do it off by heart. I'm gonna have to pull up my calendar. And they were like pretty confused. They're like, sir, you should know your own travel. And I was like, okay, well, just give me a sec. And I started listing the places I've been in the last year. Like I've been in the Middle East, I've been in Saudi, I've been in Israel, I've been in Europe like 10 times, Asia, Korea, Japan, China, a bunch of time in altitude here in Flagstaff, Arizona, raced in Montreal, which is like basically the home race for us in Canada, the highest level race. But yeah, I could go on a list of, and I'm probably missing, New Zealand, Australia. It's just, it is, my passport is well stamped and well documented. And that's what I was trying to explain to the Canadian was, my passport's damaged, but I've also flown about 500 times on this passport. So it's not like I'm being irresponsible. It's just something that happened.
By the way, send one with some extra pages when you're getting it back in.
Yeah, exactly.
Listen, you must be stacked with air miles, though. I got to say that.
I got a few points. I'll tell you that. I'm looking forward to using them once I retire.
Hey, we were talking to Fred at the Scott O'Neill presser and catching up, and he mentioned that you had a bit of a setback lately after really getting into prime competitive shape for the Olympics. I mean, fill people in on what's happening and how you're feeling right now.
Yeah, well, it's been a kind of a rocky start to the year. So I'll rewind back. I finished my season in November, end of October, November last year, and basically been living, training most of the time, bouncing back and forth basically between Canada, Vegas, and altitude here. Vegas for the warmth, Canada because it's the National Training Center, and then altitude here. And got in really, really good shape come March. And I traveled over to Abu Dhabi actually to race. There's a World Series there. And, you won't believe it, but Abu Dhabi, the desert had a storm. And so the city of Abu Dhabi canceled the race. And so I traveled, 40 hours, got a race canceled, said, okay, we're good. We'll train for this race in Japan in May. And got to May, raced it in good shape. And in the first few kilometers of the bike, an athlete took my back wheel out and hit the pavement at like 50 kilometers an hour on a straightaway. And got a concussion, a little bit of broken ribs and bruised and battered. I'll tell you what, I had to travel to Italy right after that race and don't recommend it. I had wounds. I have wounds all over my back and everything, and trying to change bandages on a international flight is not something I would recommend to anyone. But yeah, that happened now. It's about 3 weeks ago, and I'm kind of finally starting to feel myself again. It's concussions are tough because, again, like we were talking about, it's not a physical. I mean, it's a physical, your brain injury, but you can't really see it the same way as if someone's limping or, someone's, not moving or they can't move their shoulder in a certain way. And definitely frustrating for me. It's the first time I've had that where I felt limited, but, it almost feels like you can't pinpoint it. But yeah, now we're June 5th. We're just under 2 months away from the Olympics, and feel like I'm getting back on track. For me, this will be my third Olympics, and I've gone twice. And the last one I tore my Achilles like a week, 2 weeks before. So, I'm going to the third one with the hopes of a medal. That's kind of what keeps me going and motivated at this point.
Well, and I mean, listen, I mean, with this sport, it is a steady climb to the top. And, prior to this previous injury, I mean, coming off last season, you were nudging in right around the top 10 in the world, established as the #1 Canadian triathlete. But you've been used to a few setbacks. And I mean, more so than anything, I think your sport prepares you to power through anything put in your way.
Yeah, I mean, triathlon, like we always compare, even like let's say swimming or running. Swimming, you get in the pool, you watch the Olympics, and they have their own lane, and so you're kind of in control of your destiny. You can't control how fast others go, but you can kind of control. No one's going to hit you in the face. No one's going to crash you on the bike. Same with running. You get on the track, and it's like you run your time. And triathlon's just not like that because you're in the water, you're getting hit, you're getting dunked by people. You're going on the bike, you're riding with a group of people, and you're at the mercy of if someone slides out, they take you out. You have multiple like options of mechanicals, getting a flat tire, bike breaking. I go a long list of like just random stuff that's happened over the years. And then on top of that, you're trying to just like any sport, you're trying to push your body to the limit, and that fine line between being the best in the world and being broken is tough. I mean, that's what I went through the last Olympics. I trained to win the Olympics. Like I was trying to win. I wasn't trying to like come top 10, which I could have trained safer. And when you try to win the Olympics, you got to take some risks, especially, if you're a kid from Manitoba who didn't grow up doing it until, 16, you're going to be at a bit of a disadvantage. So I need to take a little bit of risk, and sometimes it pays off and sometimes it doesn't. That's sport. That's what keeps us watching, right? Like that's what keeps everyone betting on sports. That's what keeps everyone showing up to, preseason games, season games, playoff games, everything.
You mentioned starting at 16. I mean, for folks that aren't familiar with you, let's face it, Winnipeg does not seem like a hotbed of triathlon. How did you even get into this? And fill people in a little bit on the journey that took you from someone that tried it out to a world-class Olympian trying to get a medal.
Yeah, I mean, my story starts like pretty much every Canadian kid's and probably how you most start. I played hockey, and I actually played AAA hockey. I played the highest level hockey until I was 16. And actually, a few of the guys on my team got drafted to the WHL. And I got invited out to some MJHL camps. But I was doing, in the meantime, I was doing cross country because our coach thought we were all lazy and said we got to get out and stay in shape during the season. It was maybe less for me than some of the other guys, but my coach identified me there, and I decided I'd give triathlon a try. And what I found was like the more effort I put in, the better I got. It was like direct correlation, which is easy in the earlier days. It's harder as you get farther in the sport because the more effort doesn't always correlate to more results. But definitely early days, it's like the harder you work, the luckier you get type of thing. And to be honest, like I look back and the work ethic I put in now, I'm like, I wish I had put a little bit in more during hockey but you're young at that point and you don't know any better. Whereas like I go to practice, but I never shot pucks or did anything after, I just like enjoyed playing. And if anything, this sport has taught me, like you said, it's like success, downfall, success, downfall. It's been like such a rocky journey. I mean, at 19, Canada told me that I didn't think I could make the Olympics in 2016, and that my name didn't really belong in the same sentence. And so I decided to leave the national program then, and ended up doing quite well. And they ended up recruiting me back, and then I made the 2016 games. So bit of
funny how that works.
Yeah, it's always you always see the meme of like the supporters before, then the people congratulating you after. It's always a smaller crowd saying they believe in you before, and a bigger crowd after when it's happened. But I've been 2016. I went and was a young athlete. I finished 15th. It was dream come true to go to the Olympics. To be honest, when I started the sport, never thought I could get there. It was always small, set little goals, and all of a sudden you're at the Olympic Games. And, then fast forward to 2021, I'm a Olympic medal favorite, and I tear my Achilles 2 weeks before. So those of you who don't know, if with a torn Achilles, it's really not pleasant to move around. And I raced the whole thing on a torn Achilles and finished 15th. So kind of gives you a.
How is that even possible?
I don't know. The funniest part was my coach after I got an MRI, and they're like, "Yeah, your Achilles is torn." And we thought that maybe it was before, but I was like, "I'm gonna do it." And my coach didn't believe me. He wanted to see the MRI because he didn't. Same thing. He didn't know how it was possible that I had, raced for 2 hours on a torn Achilles. But I remember running out of the water because when you're transitioning from the swim to the bike, you don't have any shoes. And shoes help a bit, but I remember running out and like running to my bike and being like, "Oh goodness, like this isn't good." And I tried to convince the team to let me race the relay 4 or 5 days later, and they all got out and they said, "Well, if you can run around this circle block in the village, you can without limping, you can do the thing." And so I did this little small loop, and I was like, "Oh, I'm trying not to limp," and I'm like, "I think I'm doing a good job." And they've recorded a video and they show me the video after, and I look like a wounded soldier running through. But I just had that mindset of like, I'm gonna do this. But after that, I couldn't walk or run for months. It's a terrible injury, but kind of gives you perspective of what the mind's capable of doing. I mean, you see it all the time with any sports league. Someone gets injured in a game and they might finish the game off, and then somehow after you hear this crazy injury and you're like, how did they manage that? And sometimes it's not explainable.
Well, that level of pain tolerance, I imagine, is a big reason why you and many of the best in the world are where they are, because this is not a sport not for the faint of heart. Tyler Mislawchuk's with us, getting ready for the Paris Olympics in triathlon. You mentioned, like, I have to ask you just about the actual event. Like, we see cycling teams and they've got guys driving with them and they've got a car. When you're out there in something like the Olympics or one of these top tier events, what sort of support do you have? Like, what happens if you're physically able to go, but your bike gets a flat or something like that? Are you screwed, or is there a way to get back in the race?
Yeah. So with like my type of racing at the top level, essentially they'll have like 2 wheel pits during the race along the course. And so let's say if we're riding 40K, there's a 5K circuit. So every 5K, there's going to be 2 wheel circuits where you could go in if you get a flat tire. But if your bike just breaks or like something malfunctions, then your day is pretty much done, which is the absolutely cruel part of the sport. Is like you can train for like I said, just for 12 months, or in my case 10 years now, and you can have a mechanical on the bike and your day's done. So it's a pretty unfortunate part. But that's one of the things, like before the race, like I have my bike checked by by the mechanic here. Then when I get to a race, I might get it double checked and go through all the little things and pretty much control everything I can control. The only thing is our bikes are so like fancy now. It's crazy to think, like I started triathlon on a Walmart mountain bike, and now I'm biking on a bike that, has electronic gears and that the cables are built into the bike. So some stuff, like if the electronics malfunction, like there's nothing I can do, because you probably just need new wires and cords, and like it's programmed by a computer. Like the bikes now are so crazy that make it hard for like an average guy who knows a lot about bikes to even be able to fix your bike yourself.
Yeah, the technology, and and you would think like something like triathlon is one of the more simple sports, but the minute you get on the bike, that machine is a huge part of the competition. You mentioned you're in Flagstaff. This is like high altitude and it's hot. What's it like out there? Do you have other triathletes there with you as well? And how much does that help you push yourself to the limit to try to get the most out of you in the biggest races?
Yeah, it's crazy up here. It's 7,000 feet, so it's 2,100 meters in Flagstaff, Arizona. And I can actually ride my bike. They've got a ski resort, believe it or not, in Arizona, right down the road from me. And you can ride to 3,100 meters or 10,000 feet. So for those who don't know, like at 7,000 feet, like walking up a pair of stairs is crazy. Like my parents came and visited, and and my dad's in decent shape. Like, it's not like he's going to get out of breath walking up the stairs at home, and he walks up the stairs here and he's gasping for air. You know, even for myself, like, you buy groceries and you walk up the stairs with your groceries, and like a guy who trains 30 hours a week, I'm like, oh. So it never really gets easier. But that's one of the things I'm trying to use in my advantage. Essentially, being up at altitude, for those who don't know, it increases hemoglobin, red blood cells. So it basically gives you more endurance. You know, like, let's say a hockey reference would be like, okay, you could bring the intensity for 30, 40 seconds in a shift. Now you could bring it for 60, 75 seconds at the same intensity. Not necessarily a higher intensity, but just kind of extending that effort out. So that's what altitude does. And yeah, it's not 30 degrees. It's warm here, but down in Phoenix, 2 hours away, it's already like 35, 40 some days. So 30 is nice, I think, when you're down in Phoenix, and I've been down there quite a bit. It's toasty. So it's just manageable enough here to not cook yourself completely, but you definitely got to be careful because it's super easy to overdo it. And on top of that, like, you know, I burn 6,000-7,000 calories a day. You add 1,000 or 2 a day on top of that now, because your body's just constantly working harder and harder just to survive, basically.
How much do you eat?
Too much. Yeah, I've got to do like meal replacement shakes. I've got to do like all the little tricks, because like I'm just out there. Like today, I've got a hour run, 5 kilometer swim, and a 3-hour ride, and so you just do that, and then the time of the day kind of shrinks away because you're commuting to all these, and it's like, when's the time to eat? So you definitely got to eat a lot, but I definitely hit a lot of shakes on top of that just to make sure I'm covered. I'm not like a massive guy. It's probably why I didn't make it in hockey. So I got to like be on the defensive of like, no one ever feels bad for me, because I can eat everything and anything and never put on weight. But it's also because I'm training 30 hours a week and living in a mountain, So
yeah, I think if everyone's out there burning 6,000 to 7,000 calories a day, you'll be in good shape. Trust me. Trust me on that. Tyler, listen, as we look forward to Paris, the event is on July 29th. So that's very close to the opening ceremonies. We're well less than 2 months away from it right now. It's great to hear you're feeling better, back on the bike, back training. Fill us in on the sort of the month prior to the Olympic Games, where you'll be and what the goals are to get yourself in the best opportunity to get on that podium.
Yeah, I mean, we're 7-8 weeks out now, so I'm going to do another few weeks here at altitude, and then essentially follow the same protocol I always do, is like drop down 3-4 weeks before and be able to kind of fine tune with my team. So we're heading over to Girona, Spain, which is actually the original spot where Lance Armstrong used to go and train. It's just full of mountains. It's a beautiful little town, and it's only a train ride away from Paris. So that's the benefit of Europe. You can kind of use train systems, or that everything's a lot closer than being in North America, where we're so spread out. So yeah, final month, I'm going to be with my team in Spain. And basically, I mean, the hard work will be done in the next 3 weeks. And the last 3 weeks will be making sure I stay healthy, making sure I kind of fine tune and, put the makeup on, as they say. I'm building the body, and just the final touches in the last few weeks. So like I said earlier, like, what keeps me up is like winning an Olympic medal, but that's what everyone wants to do. So it's not an easy task. But like we said, on the day, anything can happen. You can get a mechanical. You can have a great day. Someone can have a bad day. Anything can happen. Someone can get sick the night before. But that's what makes sports so exciting. And, that's what kept me going. I'm 29 now. This will be my third Olympics. And I like just as motivated to get on train today as I was, for the 2016 Olympics, which is saying a lot. Some days are harder than others to get up, and when you're exhausted and tired, but in a general sense, I'm still as motivated as ever, which is honestly in this sport is the main thing, because once you lose that motivation or hunger, it's not so fun to go out for 6 hours training a day to get yourself in peak physical condition.
It's truly incredible what you've done over the last decade plus, and here's to it culminating with the greatest height of your career coming up on the 29th of July in Paris. Tyler, I can tell you that the city, the province, Canada, and certainly everyone here at Winnipeg Sports Talk is going to be pulling for you. Wishing you nothing but good health heading into that event. and we'll look forward to catching up, maybe even before or certainly after your Olympic experience. Go out there and give it your all.
Thank you, boss. Appreciate being on the show. Big fan, like always. So
Thanks so much, Tyler. All the best.